From the corridors of power to the cries on the streets, from broken promises to bold reforms, one show rises above the spin. Crestline.
If monkey jumps when the tree is now close, the monkey will break legs.
They used 18 members to impeach a governor instead of 22 members.
The political show that dares to go deeper. Crestline brings the voices, the verdicts, and the vision that shapes our future. Join Rayo, Akinsowon. Tough questions, real answers, no filters. Crestline.
Good evening and welcome to Crestline, the program where politics speaks. I'm Rayo, Akinsowon. Tonight, we turn the spotlight on a subject that has shaped debates across Nigeria and Africa: the role of women in politics, their development, and their active participation in governance. Across boardrooms, parliament chambers, and grassroots communities, women are breaking barriers. Yet, in Nigeria, representation still falls short of expectation. Why is this so? And what must change before 2027 and beyond? To help us unpack this crucial conversation, I'm joined by Dr. Adedayo, Benjamins-Laniyi, Honorable Mandate Secretary, Women Affairs Secretariat of the Federal Capital Territory, and also the FCT Coordinator of the Renew Hope Initiative under the Office of the First Lady. She's a renewed women's advocate, a voice for empowerment, and an influential figure in mobilizing women for leadership. I will call her Adedayo. Adedayo, you're welcome to Crestline.
Great to be here, Rayo. And good evening to all the viewers online and out there on our various platforms. It's a pleasure to be here.
I must say you have that baritone voice, Adedayo.
I have a feminine voice with a certain texture that has...
All right, do you know why you're here today? I met Adedayo for the first time last week. Went for an occasion, and there was this scenario. This woman mentally unstable, and she was trying to constitute nuisance, and security operatives just came from nowhere, and they just want to handle her anyhow. And then today I just came and said, "So sorry, just leave her to me." And then I was so kind to her, and then took her out of that place and talked to her, and then said, "I'm going to help you," and all that. And that really got me. And I said, "No, Adedayo, you just have to be here today." And we will be talking about role of women in politics. So, Adedayo, I want to welcome you again. Thank you so much for all what you do.
Thank you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that has been afforded me through the instrumentality of His Excellency Mr. President's Renewed Hope Agenda for Women through the Honorable Minister of the FCT, Barrister Nyesom Wike's ending a 48-year lacuna here in the FCT where there was no Secretariat for Women Affairs. So in setting that up, opening up that, and getting the political appointeeship, it's positioned me to position the cause, but most importantly, the intervention for investment for women, from grassroots to, I would say, top fruit, but most importantly, to bring the Renewed Hope Agenda for women to a place of focal, pivotal human development impact and community representation.
All right, I want to ask that question last, but now let's start from there. Talking about the Women Affairs Ministry, it's
Secretariat.
Secretariat. It's one of that was created under the leadership of His Excellency, the Minister of the FCC, Wike. It's 2 years, first. And then what impact has that Secretariat made so far?
Well, like I said, we are a profile Secretariat for the intervention of His Excellency, Mr. President, through His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of the FCT. As we popularly refer to him, in the FCT and has become a global reference to Mr. Project, has made women a pivotal project for development and for the advocacy of driving change through policy implementation and redirecting even budget lines for projects that bring about a unique collateral of socioeconomic activity for women, not patronizing them through, we say palliatives, handouts, but having projects that work women into agricultural initiatives, digital economy, also working with health and driving socio-cultural reforms for adolescent girls, and also upscaling the opportunities through these reforms to a place of transformation when it comes to the reviews of harmful cultural traditional practices, working on a more dynamic interface between government, governance, and traditional gatekeepers, not just the patriarchy of our royal fathers, but through the coordinated intervention and networking of the 17 tribal chiefdoms, royal mothers, that's the wives of the traditional rulers, the 6 area council first ladies, their wives, and then running through the 64 wards, the full expression of over 886 communities and counting in the Federal Capital Territory. What I love to say, not just as a statement, but as a collective action, and one that is very deliberately being scaled, is that when you invest in a woman, it's not a gender agenda. It is a global to a local. So it's global intervention for community development and community prosperity. Gross domestic product and the productivity of that entire transformative sector through women brings about gross domestic happiness for communities.
Well, big smile, I have to say, and I want to say I want to wish you all the best for what you are doing for the women in the Federal Capital Territory. And let's move straight to topic for today, and let's begin with the current state of women in Nigerian politics. Despite women being half of the population, their representation in the National Assembly and other levels of government remains minimal. Rwanda, South Africa, and Liberia are far ahead. Why does Nigeria still lag behind? Is it culture, religion, lack of political will, or the financing barriers that women often face? How do you see this challenge from the position in the Federal Capital Territory?
It's all of the above. Talk about the financial barriers, the lack of political will within certain political spheres of patriarchy, and also self-limiting beliefs even when it comes to women in the place of their political advocacy and push. The cultural religious barriers. But I believe the first thing we need to unbundle is the mindset. And it all begins with you. You've introduced me as mandate secretary, as representing the FCT RHI of the First Lady. But what I am and what brought me here was my political journey. I emerged as a disruption in Federal Capital Territory, running for Senate in the primaries under the APC. And that in itself wasn't just a disruption. By certain parties and quarters, it was considered an insult. It's like, and it's like, where is she coming from? How dare she? I mean, she's media, she is a celebrity persona, she's an MC, and it's like, it was almost like, no, she's not part of this caucus. The reality is, it's mindset. And for me, emerging into that wasn't born out of an ambition or even an aspiration. It was a personal conversation where the audacity to run became the thrust of acknowledging that in me, I believed I had a difference that could make a difference. I was committed not just to the idealistic opportunity of running for an office and running for Senate. It was more about the fact that I truly believed, as a matter of patriotic faith, that by running I would do much more than just run. I would demonstrate the will for a woman to follow through a commitment, not as a gambit, but as a very real commitment to legacy. Even if I didn't win, you know, I came out of the election learning, and it's become a statement with me that even if you do not win an election, never lose your direction. So you can lose an election, but don't lose direction. A woman is a winner and a trophy for running alone, because only very few women will, with the audacity to run. And in running, come to the place where we must understand also as women running that nobody concedes power. Power is a tussle. You must, it's not, you know, even though people hustle for power, it's a tussle, it's a wrestle. You've got to wrest it out for you to have it and take ownership of it. And I've learned that we all have to understand that it takes a certain navigational thrust. You must understand how to navigate the politics. People say, when I was running, you mean you're ready to play dirty? I said, anybody who's going to go into the field of play in any game must get ready to get dirtied. It doesn't mean you're playing dirty. You will get mud slung at you. You will get pushed around and thrown in different directions. You will have your own will challenged, but you must keep the mind set on what you are doing. Today, Her Excellency as the First Lady is the first woman, and it's on record, to be a 3-time senator of the Federal Republic, and she could easily have become gone the fourth round. But because she made a decision that as a woman, she was going to give and invest in His Excellency, her husband, all of the required support and framework of her own sagacity, not just as wife, but as a political icon herself. In fact, I dare say political unicorn. And she, in doing that, became the thrust of directing the campaigns and bringing about that movement, to which I also became part of, with the campaign bringing His Excellency and herself into office. So it's about mindset. It's the fact that yes, we have all of these limitations, these challenges. Yes, in Nigeria we say, oh, you know, it's just the 4%. How many of us women are in the Senate, in the House of Assembly? But you know, you look at those numbers, and rather than look at the lower percentage, let's look at the 96% opportunity. So if I only have 4%, you know, in the under 4%, then I have a 98% opportunity to push through, which is why right now the whole thrust of special seats, reserved seats for women, the 74 seats, is not just a subject of controversy. It's a subject for the now. And it's a subject not, like I say, given to argument, but one of conversation, one of political conversation that scales the pedigree of the Nigerian political lingua. Don't even use the word, just the Nigerian political mindset towards positioning women. Yes, certain quarters believe that giving women a quota is discriminatory against men. Don't look at it as a gender agenda. Let's understand this. It's not even about, being equal, because you say it's equal, then we say give women 50% or 6. We're not even saying that. What we are saying is that give women the 100% opportunity by first of all now understanding that through election, it is never going to happen in the next 10 years. There's no way the men as the locker room clique are ever going to give that away. But we're so glad that the conversation has gotten to the point that we have the Right Honorable Speaker, we have the Deputy Speaker, we have the push of Her Excellency, the Office of the First Lady, and distinguished Senator, of course, Ireti Kingibe, we have Honorable Khalifa, we have all of the CSO movement of women, not coming in combative presentation, but in a conversational engagement, one that is redirecting, not as a narrative, but as a rhetoric, an engagement of conversation. This whole language of political presentation allow the women to have the 74 seats so that nothing about them without them. I'm cloning that from persons with disability, because that's what they say. Don't make decisions at a table or in a room, in a national assembly, on a national consensus, affecting over 50% of your population without them being part not just of the process and the delivery of a law or a constitutional banner or flyer or any engagement in terms of the reference of political action, socio-economic development, the redesigning of the grid of our national reference within global politics. Nigerians go out, our politicians go out to engage at international, global levels, the fora, and they see the representation. And you know what? It's evident. Nigeria is 54/54 when it comes to women representation in parliamentary platforms across the world for Africa. And then we have the most dynamic cluster of women when it comes to us, women on boards, women within professional representations, women entrepreneurs. We're the single largest cluster of women in entrepreneurship of African descent anywhere in the world. We have the world's richest African in female in Nigeria, and we look at it and say this is not just something we need to be blabbing about. It needs to be something from mindset to the place of our values, working the patriarchy to a place of understanding that this is not about combative feminism. This is about positioning the women beyond a proposition to a seat at the table. Nothing about us without us. Today I'm on your program, Rayo, and you and I were just conversing, and I am 001, the first woman on Crestline. Now I want to ask a question. How many men have you had on this program before me? Let's start counting.
4, 5.
You see that? What does that make the representation already? So for all the women out there, here is making sure that we are cresting on Crestline from now on. What I'm saying is it's deliberate. It's something that we want to be able to intentionally, not combatively, but want to be able to conversate and bring the positioning of women, rather than we keep recycling. Is it about financial barriers? Yes, we need money. And that's the other thing about women in politics that we have to properly understand and reposition ourselves with. This is not going to be asking for anyone to do us a favor. It's something that we have to very properly negotiate, transact for the kind of transformational impact and import that we are looking for as political statements.
All right, let's talk about the challenges. You've learned your lesson, and you've gone through a whole lot when you were about to run for the Senate in the FCT. And if the opportunity avails itself again, will you run? That's one. And then another question that I really want to ask, we're talking about women representation. Let's look at the issue of Senator Natasha Poti in the Senate. So what do you have to say about all of this saga, and then what do you have to say?
I'll just say that Natasha is a sister, and in that place of political process and her own engagement, definitely it's had its challenge, it's had its outcomes, and that's a woman right in the center of all of that controversy. It's controversial, and in the place of controversy, we understand that while I represent a woman in political process by political appointeeship, it is not my assignment to give a comment on that. But it is my place of woman to woman, a sister to a sister, to say that is a profile of a woman in the political space like we have in our country and in our nation, Nigeria, and in our political sphere. What we do about it, just like men go to the locker room to resolve it, women have their locker room and our strong room where we also resolve our own.
Well.
And what's the other question you're asking? Why would I run for a seat when I'm running errands for my principal? Right now, there are 3 ways to run. You can run away, you can run for election, or you can run your errand. I am here running the bidding of those who put me here. The work is still on. This is a pioneer mandate. And you know, what is the focus of any political engagement action? It's for you to impact people. I've been given one of the most incredible opportunities by His Excellency the Honorable Minister, FCT, and of course the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President through the representation of the First Lady's RHI in the Federal Capital Territory, along with all the 36 states. I couldn't have asked for a more germane opportunity to be tested, to be tried, and to run my errands.
What do we have to talk about the loggerheads between the female senator, and let's say, for example, I have to be specific now, loggerhead between Senator Ireti and the FCT minister. They are always on their necks.
Like I said,
is there a conflict of interest?
Well, what I will simply say is this, that when it comes to loggerheadship, like I said, I'm here as one they've sent on an errand. I believe you had Larry here the other day. Larry is better positioned to answer that question. But I simply give my respects to those that I doff my hat and give my headship loyalty to.
Well, we ask tough questions here. Straight answers, no futures. And that's
I have no problem. I have all respect for my minister, and I have all respect for the distinguished senator as well.
All right.
And you know, I'd like to say something.
Please go
it's
ahead.
not personal. It's political.
It's politics.
It's politics. Yes.
It's politics. It's all right. I love the way you answer the question anyway. Moving ahead, let's talk about women as agents of development. Now, Dr. Adedayo, beyond numbers and representation, women have proven to be agents of transformation, from leadership in ministries to grassroots mobilization. Women are often the heart of policies that touch lives, health, education, and social welfare. How important is it for Nigerians to intentionally empower women in leadership? And can you share some examples where women's inclusion has made the difference?
Me.
Okay.
I am the top #1 reference I know. The background, like I explained, I was coming from running for Senate at the primary level, losing elections but not losing direction, moving ahead to push through the advocacy of the election campaigns that brought our president into his office, his position. Here in the FCT, I was right at the top of making sure that my own mandate, I stood on it, and I established within the Federal Capital Territory a very strong, evident profile when it came to APC progress. Now, in pushing forward, the opportunity of political apprenticeship came. Before it came, when we realized post-elections and with the announcement here in the FCT, there was a lot of rancor and divisive restiveness. And what I did was I set up a unity football tournament at grassroots level. Why? Not just as a distraction, but to unify, because football does that. Everybody forgets tribe, religion, political party, all of that. It became one of the most incredible forces that reinvigorated a sense of community for FCT, because that is who we are. Even when I was running, I said it's not about indigene, non-indigene. In the FCT, for as many of us, take someone like me, who's been here over 30 years, coming in for my youth service in the FCT, what we represent is not just the non-indigene in the FCT. No, what we represent is the FCTarian, because the FCTarian is the confluence of the Nigerian at the center, the intersection for Nigeria, for all Nigerians, by that engagement of our unique, I'm from Ogun State, by birth and birth, Oyo State, you are in Bogosho, by marriage, but FCT statesmanship and estate from the time I came into youth service, and that's what National Youth Service does. It makes you national. And so in looking at the outcomes that I have seen come from my own experience and finding myself then somehow pivoting into politics, and then, like I said, into the position of appointeeship as a woman, as the first pioneer mandate secretary for women, and the last born, but now the central reference for all commissioners of women affairs at subnational level, because I'm here. So when we get into our meetings, the 36 commissioners and one mandate secretary, I'm referred to respectfully as my Oga, the landlord. So, the truth of the matter is that you come in, and if that has happened, now dispensationally, what has it done? It has brought into foremost profiling, right, the mandate of renewed hope for women. The fact that this is what this present administration does by dispensational, not just politics, but focusing on people. The infrastructure of roads that we see, and now water, because with the commissioning of projects like the one that we were at last week, it's about bringing water to community. That is SDG 6, water and sanitation and health for communities. Working with women, let's just take that SDG goal and moving into a place like Great Cheddar, where we are setting up with the Akpu Women value chain, a whole intervention for women of over 542 women in this cluster that right now we've been able, through collaboration with UN Women, to set up a full global standard work shared water intervention and a community intervention that has built a whole new socio-economic cycle for them. We're able to work with the wives of the traditional rulers of the Federal Capital Territory. It has never happened before. 17 chiefdoms have a coordinated intervention and platform, which is chaired by the wife of the Honor of Abaji. And as the wife of the Honor of Abaji, coordinating all the different royal highnesses, what has happened is that we now have, right at the grassroots, activations for gender-based violence, activations that bring about conversations in a tone that is not seen as elitist, but is right at their level, using the language of the people, for the people, but bringing the interventions of global policy for nations to the mungus. Like I said, people look at Abuja and think it's just Amak. No, we have 62 wards spread across 6 area councils. And of these 62 wards and 17 tribal chiefdoms, we have over 886 communities, like I said, and still counting. And that is why right now the focus on data from the Bureau of Statistics, the national population, working for health, we're talking about all of those dynamics. Along with me, the second system mandate secretary commissioner is Adedayo, and she was a former commissioner for health and environment in Lagos State, and now here in the FCT, making very unique interventions, impacting all references when it comes to focus on women, adolescent girls, health, and most importantly, in terms of reproductive health, mother-to-child transmission. The First Lady is the global champion to stop TB. That itself has become a community movement. Also, that is transmission to, transmission of HIV to babies. It's some mother-to-child transmission. It's something that the First Lady has taken up as a champion to end. And this, for the first time in the FCT, through this kind of coordinated, concerted engagement, has brought about a complete turnaround. Now, as the FCT coordinator for Her Excellency's Renewed Hope Initiative, the Agricultural Support Program through the Every Home a Garden, Grow Your Food at Home, FCT came up with the highest number of participants for the Every Home a Garden across Nigeria. For the 2025 intervention, which is now being superintended by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Professor Adedayo, we now have a whole new movement, let me call it that, transitioning agricultural intervention into food security for women, for youth, for students, and all of this within communities at the various graded levels without leaving any community behind. Now, much more than all of this, you now look at the fact that we're able to get the attention of the youth. We're talking about women in politics. I have Samira Zakari Angulu from Gwagwalada. She's a foremost youth politician, young lady, just recently married. Her dad was my contender when it came to the primaries that denied me my tickets. So we'll leave that for, but you see, we leave for another day. But you see, one thing I learned was that there's still a connection. I was able to take on Samira as a mentee, and along with her we have Sebiki Sylvia from Buhari. I have Emero Issa Barnabas from what we call her Ushafa. We call her. She, in fact, she is the most dynamic woman at grassroots politics level in FCT, and she's from Buhari. Incredible mover, mobilizer. We have Fatih Haman. Fatih Haman was the youngest of 5 of us, we call ourselves the famous 5, who were women in the FCT primary elections in 2022 when I ran. And Fatih now has published a book on the bold move and the story of a young woman in politics. And right now she's on an international tour. She's been invited to Switzerland, Geneva, to come and speak about her experience as a young girl coming out of that experience to a place where, rather than give up on a political vision and aspiration, she's just continued to move forward. Emmanuel Williams from the University of Abuja is the coordinator, national coordinator of students in government, student union government. But when it comes to mobilizing women, mobilizing young girls within the tertiary institutions for political activation, right now they are a movement when it comes to anything that translates the reforms. Take, for instance, the conversation around the special seats, anything to do with that, to bring that awareness into all that helps us to cascade our, not just talk, but our movement, our mobilization, our mental reformation. Because like I said, it's a mindset thing, it's a value thing before it becomes an active, collective engagement that makes its impact.
From the lesson learned from your past experience, talking about you want to run and you lost out to a male candidate and all that.
Let's just say I lost. Don't say the male candidate. Let's just say that I was denied. You know that thing. I didn't lose. God knows I didn't lose. I robbed this city. I did not lose. I'm always particular about that. Even if the Honorable Zakari Angulu was here, he would say she didn't lose. But what I did not. Maybe calm down. What I didn't understand. I didn't lose. I didn't understand the moves.
Okay, now you understand.
And now you understand the moves.
All right, let's talk about the youth and women political participation. You know, I agree with the fact that you don't want to say you lost out, And I appreciate the audacity, like you said.
I cannot say I lost.
So, and from that experience, young girls who want to say, no, I don't want to go into politics. At the end of the day, I'm going to be sidelined and all that. So, from your past experiences, not just one now, how will you encourage these young ladies, young women to be a major partaker in politics in Nigeria?
You have to be the model they see that inspires them to will and to do, like you did. And then you inspire them and help them to scale where you are not able to get to. Encourage them to keep going, invest in them, believe in them. What I've become now is an inspiration that, you know what we saw Adedayo do, we can do. On Sunday, there were a group of media creatives who came together, and they just invited me to please come and speak to them. And there's a young lady there, Joyce Ghana, I'd never met her before. But she said the reason why she came, she wanted to meet the woman who inspired her, and that she believes she's still going to do politics. And I've had quite a number of young girls, not just in FCT, but all over the country, in fact internationally even, reach out to me and just have me speak into them the courage, the truth of my experience. I found the power of speaking truth to the query that comes to you, right? Is that you are liberating someone. Someone just watching it right now, has received the power to run for elections, to emerge. And what I say, you don't need to run for office. You can support. How I have emerged is not normal. So I don't give anybody the impression that, oh, this is the way to do it. I didn't know that I was to do it certain ways. I just moved with Father God without Godfather. And I moved with my husband's permission, not understanding that you need to get the royal father's permissions too. The first time Mama Babaji saw me, he said, you! I said, oh no. Because when I came in, my DJ is Dr. Buki Bello, and she had told me, I came in, really, my comment, that's another story. But it was the most, in a sense, ridiculous thing for anyone to do. I came in at a time when the primaries were the next 4 months, 5 months, and I was coming in November the year before. It wasn't done, but I did it. I did it based on the conviction of the conversation. That's why I said, what's the personal conversation you've had with yourself? You must understand that if you're going to go into it, go through with it. Now, for some people, you put up some kind of a show at running, so that what you're really running for is not to win, it's just to position yourself for an appointed position. It's still politics. It is still politics. Politics is transactional. If you don't understand it as transaction before transformation, then you've not understood this is what the baseline is. And when you do that, as women, we are emotional creatures, and there's nothing wrong with that. What becomes negative in its expression emotionally is when you are emotional and you are not emotionally intelligent. There's an intelligence quotient that is critical to going into the political swim. And the truth of the matter is, you're going to get hit, you're going to get smacked, you're going to get pointed at, you're going to get cheated of your ticket. But even then, it was my husband, who's my coach. He told me, he said, I wanted to go online. Everybody was going to go online and get the whole of Nigeria and the world to see what's going on. And he said, stop that. That is not how you win. Switch off your phone. And even though I had an opportunity to go to court, and I would have won. But you win at primaries and you lose in every other thing. Because politics is about loyalty. Politics is, the blood of politics is loyalty to your party. And when I came to understand that party is higher than your personal opinion or rights, I didn't necessarily quote unquote accept it to respect it, but I had to respect it to accept it. And yeah, that's what makes you tough in the game, because you must become T-O-U-G-H. I mean, the tough man, we all know, my principal would say anyone who can work with him and survive, he can survive anything. You won't just swim, you will win. And so for me, the pivot, right, has been a very significant one. But the more my demographics watch me, the more they are it's not about being convinced, the more they are challenged. If Adedayo can do this, if Adedayo can survive, I hate, and it's only because of you. Otherwise, you know, even when they want to bring up things and bring arguments and everything, I say, look, it's not personal, it's political. So don't get offended. Let's just get tougher. Let's understand. Let's become more resilient. And, you know, I say it's very unfortunate when I see how certain people take advantage of the it's not so much the innocence, but the idealistic sense of hope that young people have. And this is what is exploited again and again. If you're actually able to sit with young people and explain to them using the truth of political reality, they will come up with strategies that will reform, translate, and turn around a lot of the negative, toxic energy we find. What I found in politics, honestly, is that it's the highest level of advocacy for humanity if it's done in purity. But it's the highest level of impunity it's the highest level of arrogancy when it's done with impunity. The truth is, Mother Teresa could have impacted the world, and we love her, but she could have done 10,000 times more if she was working with a government, from a government position of reform and impact. The opportunity, like I said, I want to see, I get distracted by going to run for an office and another election, when I have an opportunity to run errands, when I meet the women in Kulo, when I go to Karamajiji village, and I sit in Saadatu and I sit with the Hakimi of the persons with disability. I go to the leprosy, village. I'm able to sit and interact with these people, and I don't have leprosy. And we find that we have centers that all they need, centers that have been redundant for 15, in Zuba, there's a center, a women's center that have been there since the time of late Excellency Mommy Mariam Babangida. I found even the beads that were bought and placed there, still there waiting for activation, where we've activated. And that's what Mr. Project has activated by making women a project in FCT.
Intentionally, I don't want to interrupt you, because today I just want you to educate the women for them to participate in politics. And our time is far spent, and I want to tell everyone that Adedayo is busy now running errands. I really want to thank you for accepting my invitation to be on the Crestline. And tonight's conversation with Dr. Adedayo, Benjamins-Laniyi has underscored one fact. Empowering women in politics is not just about fairness. It's about building stronger democracies and sustainable development. And that's our show for tonight. I'm Rayo. Akinsowon. Thank you for joining us on Crestline, where politics picks. Good night.
From the corridors of power to the cries on the streets, from broken promises to bold reforms, one show rises above the spin. Crestline.
If monkey jumps, when the tree is now closed, the monkey will break legs.
They use 18 members to impeach a governor instead of 22 members.
The political show that dares to go deeper. Crestline brings the voices, the verdicts, and the vision that shapes our future. Join Rayo Akinsowon. Tough questions, real answers, no filters. Crestline, we're